Welcome to Live from Med City, the online video digest of all things arts and entertainment in Rochester, Minnesota. Tonight we come to you from the Historic Chateau Theatre in downtown Rochester, Minnesota's Heart of the City district for a special audience-less performance from the Austin, Texas-based string band Invoke.
As if what we drink sinks deeper than our bones. And if there's only one thing this has ever shown, that living in the limelight, the universal dream, for those who wish to see, and those who wish to be, must put aside the alienation, get on with the fascination.
Presented by Rochester Civic Music, a department of Rochester City Government.
Rochester Civic Music, also known as Riverside Concerts. They're a department of city government, and they do live music. They feature local artists, as well as artists from all over the world, from numerous genres of music. As part of series like Down by the Riverside free summer concerts in Mayo Park, the Forward Neighborhood Park Concert Series, the World Music Series, the Artist in the School's Music Education Program, the Live from Med City online video series, and many other city celebrations. This is their advisory board. And here are their bosses. Rochester Civic Music, your city music department since 1936. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter, or at riversideconcerts.com, where you can make a tax-deductible donation to support live music in our community.
Live from Med City, presented in association with Minnesota Public Radio's The Current.
Music isn't a commodity. It's a craft. That's why we go to work every day, pounding the sidewalks and venue floors of communities big and small to discover, empower, and celebrate new and important voices shaping the future of music's history.
This activity is made possible by the voters of Minnesota through a Minnesota State Arts Board Operating Support Grant, thanks to a legislative appropriation from the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
everybody. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. And thanks so much to Riverside Concerts for having us. We are Invoke. I'm Nick. That's Zach. That's Jeff. And there's Carl. And we're going to be playing a ton of our favorite music for you tonight. Much of it is original. We operate somewhat as a string quartet, but as the intro video mentioned, we're also a bit of a band, a bit of a bluegrass group, and we like to write our own stuff and do all of that. And we really appreciate you coming. It is there's not a live audience here, but it's not truly audience-less because you all are here with us tonight. So thank you so much for joining.
Hey, we're Invoke. I'm Zach. That's Jeff, Nick, and Carl. And we're from Austin, Texas. We're a bowed and fretted string quartet, playing all sorts of different types of music, from classical to bluegrass to jazz to minimalism. And we also throw a little bit of singing in there too. So I like to say you got to hear it to believe it, but if you want a more definition, we're kind of like the Punch Brothers if the Punch Brothers were a classical group going to bluegrass.
And we're going to follow that one up. That was an original with two more. These are actually both inspired by literature, and we've been playing these evening library concerts all week in a different area, focused on a different area every day. So we've gotten into our literary flow with some of our music. These two are both inspired by the same Ted Chiang short story. Ted Chiang is a science fiction short story writer, most famously known for his story that inspired the movie Arrival. This is a different story, one of his lesser known ones, but in my opinion, just as good. It's called The Merchant and the Alchemist's Gate, and we're going to play two songs inspired by this story, themes of time travel. It's a fantasy, science fiction, fantasy type story. So we're going to be playing two of those songs. The first is Alchemy, the next Doorway. Just a form of alchemy. Led to move the blind to see. Merchant vessel lost away. yourself who you'd become. You won't be here for a while. After all I'm said and done, go now through that doorway to the place we had forgotten. The sands lead you astray. These dunes still left untrodden. But in 20 days you'll lose her. Those 20 years ago, your feet will leave no trace here. Yet you ride to let her know. Go now through that doorway to the place you once called home. You'll be too late to save her, yet her woods will be your own. You're all I wanted. This all my haunting, your name is calling, but still it falls.
All right. Woo. Thanks, guys.
This is our first time in the great state of Minnesota and in the great city of Rochester. I've heard a lot about Mayo Clinic before, but never actually seen it. So that's kind of cool. And we like it here. I mean, it's a quaint but beautiful town with just the right size of a downtown. Austin, Texas is a little bit large, honestly. There's too much traffic. So being able to pick up Nick from across town in less than 10 minutes is very satisfying.
Well, so we're going to do another one for you now, another original. This one's also of a literary basis. This is based on a character in a sci-fi fantasy series called The Stormlight Archive by Tolkien-esque of his generation and awesome author Brandon Sanderson. The song is called Sill, and it's about a fairy or a sprite that kind of, this character who starts following around one of the other main characters when he's having a really hard time in his life. And at first, she's like super annoying, like bothering him all the time, like knocking his wine over, dumping dirt in his porridge, stuff like that. And he really just comes to despise her, and he's like, oh man, my life's so hard. And now I got this fairy following me around, messing with me all the time. And he gets really mad at her, and but then eventually, at some point, she goes away, and he realizes that she was one of the only things keeping him sane, even though she was the one thing that was driving him crazy. Boy, if that doesn't sound like a rom-com pitch line, I don't know what does. But it's a great story. Song is called Sill, based off that character, and it's about being optimistic when things really aren't going well.
I'm going to tune first.
Always a good plan. I don't know if anyone could hear my viola in that last one. Woof. Someone remind me to tune that before Trace. Okay, cool. This is Sill. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Chateau is probably one of the coolest places that we've played. It's really awesome to be in like what feels like a concert venue, but then you look behind you and there's this like Shakespearean castle. So it was definitely not something I was expecting at all, like really different from anything I'd ever played in. But the acoustics are great, and I hope we get to play here again soon at some point. But
The next thing we're going to do for you is going to break from the literary theme, I suppose. This one's about the American alcohol prohibition. And specifically, it's about the perspective of a person who maybe lost their job and livelihood because of it and then had to find a way to support their family through more nefarious means, maybe bootlegging or something along that nature. But yeah, it deals with the hypocrisy of politicians that maybe voted one way and then walked outside the Senate chambers and bought whiskey from a guy with a briefcase, which totally happened. Explores the idea of what it would have been like to live in that time and try to survive, even though the country as a whole, or at least certain parts of that country, decided that what you did is a sin. Yeah, it's called Prohibition Song. And I hope you guys like it. Shaking up the door frame here. The manager, she tells us to all clear. Sorry, officer, I can't allow you in. But there's a crate of pretty South American gin just around the corner, hiding in the bin. Oh, the senators are calling for some cheer, some whiskey blended wine and homemade beer. They say don't be concerned, we'll work around. The laws we pass will push the whole thing down. The guards will let you in without a sound. For every fella working at their still, there's a dozen men like them who'll pay the bill. They tell us that we can't afford our homes, that our wives and kids will soon be skin and bones, and we'll end up homeless, drunk and all alone. Oh, well, I don't believe we'll all end up in hell. A little fear of fire will serve me well. They tell us that we cannot save our souls, as if what we drink sinks deeper than our bones. And if there's only one thing this has ever shown, never underestimate what is unknown. I know where I'm going, I'm paying for it anyway. one thing clear. People of all sorts are welcome here. Now everybody raise a glass and pour. Pour one out for hers and his and theirs and yours. Let's drink tonight behind the screen door.
Thank you so much. That's a great song, Carl. I really like that one.
Well, thank you.
It also happens to lead perfectly into the next one, dealing with prohibition and alcohol sales. This next tune is actually named after our favorite bourbon whiskey, the Trace, Buffalo Trace. The song is called The Trace, but we can't tell that to the school kids, so we tend to say that it's based around nature, which is also true. We do love nature, and so that's why we're pairing this song with another original called Dust Bowl. I like to think of these two as a single coin, even though it's two sides of it. So we have the Trace, very light. You can kind of see the clear air, like a similar day today in Rochester. It was amazing out. It's like crisp air. The sun shining bright in your face, the wind blowing through the trees, and you just feel like anything is possible with your love of nature. And then Dust Bowl is kind of the polar opposite of that. It's the Dust Bowl referring to the hubris of American farmers back in the 1920s, thinking they could control the land with new techniques to try to get every ounce of it out of as they could, which then came back to bite them by causing massive droughts and windstorms that just covered entire states with dust. So whereas the Trace is maybe about our harmony with nature, the Dust Bowl is more of a cautionary tale of when that harmony goes out of whack. Please enjoy the Trace and Dust Bowl. And Carl tuning.
How much we got? Yeah, that's why we do that. It's been a week.
Shows all week. First night this happened.
Yeah, you'd think that our instruments would have acclimated by now.
Yeah, thank you again to everybody at Rochester Music for bringing us out for this entire week. We've spent, starting Monday morning, we visited a school or general area of schools every day in the morning, and then we would play a library show in the evenings. It's been a lot of fun. We've got to meet a lot of people and enjoy this wonderful city of Rochester and all that it has to offer. Great food.
Great food.
Can't beat those hot chip burgers.
That's right. So now, this is the Trace and Dust Bowl.
A cautionary tale indeed. We've never actually performed those two back to back, and I found that very powerful, and I hope you did as well. It's kind of cool how you can find little connections among all of the pieces that you have in your repertoire. And we're still learning new things every day.
It's been an amazing experience for us, especially because, we've played everything from, huge organizations to tiny local organizations. And this kind of has the feel of everything that we love from both, really. I mean, it's a tight-knit group of people, and, the communication with everybody has been great. Everybody's been very helpful. But it also, the hall is amazing. The sound is really great. I've been checking out the streams, and you're going to see some of the concerts that we've been playing, and the sound, the quality, the production value is really amazing. So we're super lucky to have that.
So the next pair of pieces are not written by us. We've done everything up until this point as original music, which is awesome and wonderful for kind of being able to express ourselves and play the music we want to play. But we started out playing music not by us, and there's still a heck of a lot of great stuff out there, and we love to include it in what we do because there's so many great musicians in the world that are inspiring to us. So the first piece that we'll play next is entitled Robert Henry, which is the name of the newborn nephew that it was written for of a friend of ours named Andy Clausen. Andy is a trombone player in another band much like our own called the Westerlies, except instead of strings, they're brass. And they write a lot of their own cool stuff as well. And so Andy wrote this piece, as I said, in honor of his newborn nephew, and really did an awesome job of capturing the change in energy that happens when an infant enters a family's life. Maybe if there's an older sibling, all the attention shifts a little bit. There's suddenly diaper duty, and a lot of interesting things yet to come in this new life. But overall, it's super exciting, and there's a lot of hope there. And I think Andy does a wonderful job capturing that. This is Robert Henry.
for Invoke, we have 2 albums coming out. First is the American Postcards album, where we asked young composers to take a place and time in American history that's important to them and where they're living, and write it for our unique instrumentation. So Volume 1 will be out later this year. The second album we have is our original soundtrack to the 1970s film Fantastic Planet. And we already know there's a great soundtrack to that that's very legendary, but we decided to take our own crack at a soundtrack for it, and we think it's something really special. And finally, we're excited to get back on the road. We working towards vaccinating everybody so that we can travel more safely and just get out in front of live audiences again.
Thank you all so much, and huge thanks to everybody here at Rochester Civic Music, Paul and Chris and the whole team here. It's been an amazing week. We have one more song to take you out, and it's one that you might have heard before. As we mentioned before, we're science fiction, fantasy, literary nerds, and what goes along with being a nerd, but also being a Rush fan. So we're all huge Rush fans. This is one of their most famous songs, and you'll probably know it if you've ever listened to Rush. This is Limelight.
Limelight.
Not Limelight, but
Not Bud Light Lime, but. Approaches the unreal for those who think and feel in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage. Cast in this unlikely role, ill-equipped to act with insufficient tact, one must put up barriers to keep oneself intact. Living in the limelight, the universal dream for those who wish to seem, and those who wish to be must put aside the alienation, get on with the fascination, the real relation, the underlying theme. Living in a fisheye lens, caught in the camera eye, I have no heart to lie. I can't pretend a stranger is a longly awaited friend. All the world's indeed a stage, and we are merely players, performers and portrayers, each another's audience outside the gilded cage. Living in the limelight, the universal dream for those who wish to seem, and those who wish to be must put aside the alienation, get on with the fascination, the real relation, the underlying theme. Living in the limelight, the universal dream for those who wish to seem, and those who wish to be must put aside the alienation, get on with the fascination. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.